Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about episode 7 of Apple TV's Presumed Innocent, entitled The Witness. This was the first episode where I feel like the criticisms I've seen hurled at this show actually felt kind of valid. I've seen people say that this show is like utterly ridiculous at times, and aside from the head exploding scene, like, to me, this show seems to have taken itself pretty seriously for the most part. But now that we're at the courtroom scenes, I found myself sometimes wondering how realistic these scenes really are. I've seen a lot of courtroom scenes in a lot of television shows and a lot of movies, and this episode features several moments I've never seen in any other show or film, and these were moments that made me go, is that a real thing, or are they making shit up as they go? And I don't like thinking shit like that. Like, when it came to characters doing things that made sense, that was pretty absent from this episode. There was a lot of stuff that didn't quite make sense to me. Like, Rusty doing an excellent job cross-examining Carolyn's son and then inexplicably losing his shit. Like, that was weird. Like, he was good. Why did he do that? Then there was this other moment with the judge that really had me like, what the fuck, too? So, I don't know. There was a lot going on. But anyway, let's get into it. Hey everybody, I just want to take a small break from this review to talk about the various other ways you can engage with me on other platforms. If you're so inclined, and I understand why you wouldn't, I am an acquired taste, but you can join the Patreon where you can get extra content like retro reviews, where I review old shows and movies to see if they still hold up today, Mike's Musings, where I talk about shows I'm watching that I don't cover on the channel, or Mike's VOD, where you can commission me to watch a show, which I will then review on the channel. And if you want to engage with me and chat with me more directly, I also implore you to join the Discord and follow the Facebook page. I set up channels in the Discord for all of us to discuss the shows I'm reviewing on the channel, and I also drop new videos in there since it's the easiest platform for me to share to from my phone. The Facebook can be really fun because I sort of live comment on shows I'm watching, often while under the influence, I'm not gonna lie. And I'll also share news there, both about television and film and about myself as well. So if you like my content, you want to be more engaged, you think I'm charming, or you simply want to show support, feel free to sign up for the Patreon or join the Discord or Facebook today. Links to all platforms are in every video description. Remember to share all my shit to your respective social media platforms. And now back to this review. For starters, this episode, again, at least for me, it got off to a not so great start. We learned that Raymond is going to live, but the way the doctor presented it was, it was just funny to me. And I feel like this show is taking itself seriously. I shouldn't be laughing. But he's like, yeah, so not only is Raymond not dead, not only is he alive, but he's even healthier than he was before. And I'm just like, you didn't have to say that last part. like, okay, I get how a heart with a pacemaker is probably an improvement over an ailing heart with no pacemaker. But that shit just kind of sounded like how when Trump overstates some ridiculous shit, like when Trump is like, yeah, the black people love me. As a matter of fact, everyone's saying I'm more liked among the blacks than Martin Luther King Jr. It's true. That's what people are saying. Everybody's saying that. Like, that's the kind of shit Trump says. And it's like, yeah, maybe there are a couple people who have told him that, but like in an attempt to curry favor with him, I get it, but like people aren't saying that, Trump, and that's better than no one having said it at all. Yeah, sure, but you don't have to take it that far. And at the end of the day, I felt like like he's even healthier. Like, okay, he said he didn't have. What did he say? He didn't have a heart attack. He had like, an electrical moment. Like the power went out on his heart, and it just stopped for a moment, but it wasn't a heart attack, and he's even healthier. But at the end of the day, I'm nitpicking that piece because I thought it was funny, but I also know they did that so that we wouldn't call bullshit when Raymond appears at the courthouse when Rusty's about to testify. Because I'm like, well, because then I can't call bullshit. I have to be like, well, they did say that he's even healthier post-heart attack, so I guess he could be here. But there are other things that troubled me, I think, in a more serious way. The biggest of which being pretty much every scene that revolved around whether or not to declare a mistrial. So, near the beginning of the episode, Nico wants to push for a mistrial because the jury saw Rusty save Raymond, and a lot of their case hinges on the jury believing that Rusty has the capacity to murder someone. Rusty's son Kyle watches this mistrial thing being discussed on the news and says that if they declare a mistrial, they're going to have to start all over.
Wait, so if it's a mistrial, they do it all over again?
Seems so.
Tommy, becoming more and more obsessed with finding Rusty guilty than just avoiding losing the case, says to Nico that if they have a mistrial, that means Rusty walks.
We're winning. I'm not so sure of that.
A mistrial and he walks. No.
Kyle's scenario sounds like it has little to no impact on Rusty's current situation, whereas Tommy's scenario explicitly says that Rusty becomes a free man. They should have been clearer about what a mistrial would mean for Rusty. Because when this is discussed with the judge, Nico says he wants the mistrial. And Maya says she wants to keep going. So then immediately I'm like, well, hold up. Tommy just said that a mistrial means that Rusty will walk. Why the fuck would Maya not want to do the mistrial? Then Rusty, again, just like Raymond's doctor, unnecessarily taking shit up a notch. He's like, furthermore, I want to represent myself. And I'm just like, okay, this is just completely out of hand right now. Why would Maya want to continue in a scenario where Tommy just told me that Rusty would walk? And then why did that prompt Rusty to want to represent himself? And yeah, I can infer things from this. Like, I can infer that Maya and Rusty also see that momentum has swung their way. We already know that Tommy and Nico's case is weak, and Rusty saving Raymond like that will reflect well on Rusty. Maybe if they declare a mistrial, have to start over and select a new jury, then Rusty and Maya lose that momentum, and maybe more evidence is found in the interim. Who knows? But then you make that clear, and you don't have Tommy and Kyle saying conflicting things 2 minutes apart from one another. Those clips were 2 minutes apart. But since Tommy did say that, that was a jarring moment for me. Then comes the first of several things that made me go, could that even happen in real life? So Rusty's idea to represent himself meant that he would be cross-examining Carolyn's son. And Carolyn's dad is like, my son's gonna get cross-examined by the man who murdered his mother? And I'm like, that sounds ridiculous, but it's kind of a valid point. Like, even assuming that Rusty didn't do the crime, it still seems highly inappropriate for a defendant to question the victim's child. Like, and yeah, it's Rusty's right to represent himself, but that feels like something that wouldn't and shouldn't happen in real life. Like, it felt like the show was introducing a twist just to do it. Then the judge is like, if you even hint at giving your version of events, I'm gonna make you testify. And I'm just like, is that a real rule? Is that a thing you can do? Are these actual laws and things that you can't do in a courtroom, or is she just saying shit? And do they just write shit into the script? Like, this don't feel like a Sorkin. This don't feel like a Sorkin script. Like, this feel like some other shit. So then the cross-examination starts, and I'm like, probably another reason that Maya and Rusty wanted to continue is that right before Raymond had his heart situation that improved his health and made him healthier, Carolyn's son had just insinuated that his mother was scared of Tommy. Now, we know it was Tommy the kid insinuated that she was scared of Rusty. Now, we know it was Tommy that she filed the complaint against, so continuing the trial allows them to show that the kid is wrong about Carolyn being afraid of Rusty. So cool, let's get into the trial. And then they never bring it up. That was kind of a big deal, and that was part of the reason that Raymond's healthy heart attack was such a big moment. Like, the time at which it happened. But no, they never go there. Instead, Rusty does a great job of sidestepping the kid's attempts at antagonizing him. He even presents some pretty damning evidence from the kid's computer that says that the kid was looking up information on the Bunny Davis case. Reasonable doubt achieved, as far as I'm concerned. Then, for whatever the fuck reason, after the judge tells Rusty to ask the kid questions, Rusty completely loses his shit and is like, did you kill your mom? Did your dad kill your mom? Did you hire your dad to kill your mom? Did your dad hire Ted Bundy to kill your mom? And it's like, what the fuck, dog? Why is he willfully throwing this good moment away? And then Nico's response to all of this is,
I think we might be well done fucked.
And I'm just like, why are we even watching the same trial? What did Nico watch? I saw something different. Also, the revealing of the info from the kid's computer felt really out of left field for me. Like, it felt like another plot twist just for the sake of a plot twist. Like, ta-da! Here's some incredibly damning evidence that someone has had that wasn't discussed prior by anyone, even though they had this great piece of evidence. Like, I don't know. It doesn't work for me. Like, it felt really just like a moment meant to just shock you rather than something that they actually wrote into the script well. I can't even get my thoughts together. I'm so just like simultaneously amused and frustrated. Anyway, next up, Nico decides that he's going to question Rigo himself. Now, Rigo is the black female cop that's been helping Rusty throughout this whole season. During that time, Nico plays a clip of Rusty essentially telling Liam Reynolds that he can get his life sentence reduced if he admits to being involved in Carolyn's murder. Rigo also testifies that Rusty said all evidence of Carolyn's murder should come to him, and specifically not to Nico and Tommy. Then Rusty, when he cross-examines Rigo, he gets her to agree that it's not uncommon for a prosecutor to ask that all evidence be sent to them, and that he only felt, he doesn't say that he felt this way. He gets her to agree that he felt like Nico and Tommy wouldn't try the case fairly. And then that's it. No further questions. He asked like those two things, and nothing happens. That scene ends, and then there are two more scenes before we get back to a courtroom scene. When we return to the courtroom, Tommy calls Rusty to the stand, and everyone is confused, including the judge. Then they get back in the chambers, and she's immediately like, what the fuck was that? Then Tommy says Rusty asserted his innocence when he cross-examined Rigo, and the judge is like, oh yeah, you did do that. Mistrial or you testify. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck kind of sorry-ass judge is this? That she had no clue what the fuck was going on until the lawyers informed her. Like that complete 180 turn by her in the same scene. Again, really weird, poorly written scene for me. And is mistrial or you testify, is that even a real thing that can happen in response to if you assert your innocence, you have to testify, which also doesn't feel like a real thing. So couple that with the fact that no one called bullshit in the moment when Rusty did it, it all just kind of felt like this isn't how it would happen in real life, and they're just doing whatever the fuck they want to do to make it exciting. Like, I want it to feel realistic. Like, it's a courtroom. It's not fucking night court. Like, I want it to feel like something that would actually happen in a real trial, not just like shit meant to make me go, oh shit. Like, I'm not here for that. I mean, I'm here for it if it makes sense, but not like, don't just throw shit like, hey, here's shock. Anyway, against Maya's wishes, Rusty agrees to testify, even admitting that he asserted his innocence intentionally. And when he does testify, he does a pretty great job. He admits to all the stuff he did and all of the feelings that he felt, and he admits it very honestly and in front of his family, which had to be very difficult for him. He also expresses remorse, but at no point does he deny any of the text that he sent or any of the love that he felt. It all felt really honest. Like a jury will watch that and be like, feels like an honest guy. Until he says that he's not a violent person. Cue another ta-da moment. More information that existed that everyone knew about, but we withheld from the viewer for shock value. Ta-da! Apparently, Rusty choked the medical examiner in the past, something that was completely out of left field and that no one had alluded to at any point earlier in the season. Although that didn't even look like a choke. He was like, he just grabbed him by the shirt, shook him. Like, I'm not gonna grab somebody like that and then let that be characterized as a choke. But he's like, I grabbed his lapels. No, you need to say, I ain't choked that motherfucker, dog. Like, this is not choking somebody. Anyway, they fire up the footage of Rusty beating up Brian Ratzer, and Rusty admits, he does it. He all but admits that he's capable of snapping, and that's a wrap on two moments that look great for Rusty that were both ruined by Rusty himself. Tommy and Nico get in the car, and Nico's like, that was extraordinary, making the face that defines why I hate this character. What the fuck is OT doing with this fucking character, man? What the fuck was that face? And so, on that note, a pretty strange and lackluster episode ends with Tommy finding someone's broken into his home and written, go fuck yourself, on a sticky note and putting it on a fire poker. This episode really got away from itself, man. I felt like the show has taken itself fairly seriously up to this point, but this episode hit me with too many surprises that felt completely out of left field and that they were only meant to shock. There's only one episode left, though, and barring a complete and total epic failure, I would still call this show a success. I've liked every episode up to this point. It's the most watched drama in Apple history, according to Apple, and it's already been renewed for a second season. So ultimately, I think the show is a success. But its detractors, they're really gonna latch onto this one. But that's all I got for this week. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and until next week, peace.